Today I am starting with a stencil to create a pelican collage for a beachy quilted jacket. I start with basic fabric paints. You'll notice that I'm brushing in the direction of the feathers and how they would grow out from the body. Okay, let's back that up and prepare. So I'm taping down the stencil to keep it from shifting around. I start with 100% cotton denim. It's a light color so that I can see all the beautiful colors that I am painting. You'll also notice that I am holding down bits of the stencil as I move around the pelican, and I am applying very little paint. I'm actually just using the stencil to shade the pelican. I'm going to be adding some hand painting later. So I want the outside or perimeter of the pelican and the details to be a little bit darker, and then swirling around my brush to add that shading bit. I'm not sure if it's obvious, but I'm also avoiding those bridges. I don't want thick paint or heavy paint around the bridges because it just brings your eye to those little gaps or bridges that occur naturally in the stencil. There needs to be some built-in bridges in a stencil to keep all the little bits together, but you don't want to see those or notice those with your eyes. So I'm trying to avoid those or go lightly wherever there's a bridge. And then with my hand painting, I'm going to fill in those gaps so that your eye does not see them and it looks more like a hand painting. I'm now done with the stencil and the brush, so I remove the stencil and I soak the stencil in a tub of warm, mild, soapy water. I use the brush to help me do a little scrubbing, and then when the brush is clean, I wrap an elastic around the top of the stencil brush. As it dries, it will help the bristles stay stiff and ready for my next stenciling project. Before I heat set this layer, I want to add just a little bit of water to loosen up that paint. And I am going to fill in the bridges or the gaps. When I was in London on the transportation systems, they would always say, mind the gap. And whenever I'm stenciling, I mind the gap. I take care of the gaps, fill it in. Again, my goal is to have it look hand painted. Let's get rid of those gaps. I use the stencil to take a look at where those gaps exist for my eye to see them more clearly as I fill them in. Before moving on to my next color layer, I'm going to heat set this. I heat set it with a piece of cotton cloth over the top and a hot iron set on cotton or wool settings. For larger pieces like pants or jackets, at this point I throw them into a hot dryer and then I heat set with my iron and the cloth. Now my second color, white, is ready to go. I watered it down a bit. The white will highlight the places that I want to see that white feather look. But also this will act as a resist as well to the Batik paints, which are very watery. So I've looked up a local regional pelican online, and this is the local pelican of the Central California coast. It is the brown pelican. I like to look up the local species when I am creating. You can colorize it however you want. You can even go abstract colors, non-traditional Pelican colors. This is your art. Do what you want with it. I'm taking a look at that brown pelican photo that I have and doing a little detail work with the eye area. I usually fill in the eye and then just put a little speck of white to show light in the eye. I try not to get it too detailed because then I usually mess it up. So on to the color. So I'm going to first heat set and now get out my Batik paints. If you do not have an availability of Pentart Batik paints, which are available on my website while supplies last, another brand that works very well is the Jacquard Dynaflow. I will put the link to those in the description. I did some color mixing. I added a little brown to the orange Batik paint. I added a little yellow to the brown to tone the brown down. And then at the end, I'm going to be adding a little bit of black to that color to make brown plus black to make the feet and some of the feathers really pop. I will be using this pelican as an applique for a jacket panel collage, fabric collage, but you can also paint it directly on your garment. Just make sure it's 100% cotton or close to it. You can see how the batik paints penetrated through the back, but those fabric paints acted as a resist. The tutorial for how I use this pelican as an applique to a collaged art panel for my jacket will be part of my online self-study series called Beachy Blues. I hope I have inspired you to get out your stash of stencils and see how you can create a more hand-painted look on fabrics and decor. Thank you for watching and happy creating. See you next time.